Hello, welcome again to a reading through of 2 Corinthians, and I got up to the beginning of chapter 9. Chapters 8 and 9, as I may have mentioned at the beginning of this series, are regarded by many scholars as a later interpolation. They're really concerned with this gift that the Corinthians have been promising to send up to Macedonia, and these 2 chapters seem to have perhaps belong to a different letter that's been interpolated into Corinthians, probably by Paul, but inserted into this work of 2 Corinthians. So he continues on here, Perimen gar tes diakonias tes es to hagius perison moi estin to graphein humin. For regarding the diaconia, this is the ministry or service, and then he uses the article again, it's perfectly good Greek, the ministry, the one with regard to the saints. Perison is a word meaning more really, but it often translates an adverb here meaning superfluous. We get an articular infinitive, which is the subject, I think, of estin, so it's grammatically the writing to you is superfluous for me. And so we'd say in English, it is superfluous for me to write to you. Oidegar, by the way, the men doesn't seem to have a det that goes with it. I don't think it's the det down here. I think it's just men solitarium, which you do get in Greek and fairly commonly in the New Testament, in fact. So oidegar ten prothumian humon hein huper humon kalkomai makedosin hoti akaia paraskuastai apoperusin kai to humon tselos erethisen tus pleonas. For I know your zeal, the zeal in regard to which, for the hein, I am boasting on behalf of you to the Macedonians, the boast that Achaia, now this is a perfect passive here, has been prepared, or has prepared, or perhaps has made preparations. Apoperusin, we've had that before in the earlier chapter 8, a year ago, literally from a year ago, and I think after the oida, I know also of that, or perhaps you're going to supply hoti or something here, and I know that your zeal, erethisen tus pleonas. This is from erethisdo. It's a word which here has the sense of has excited. Tus pleonas, the majority, the more, literally, the many. So has excited many. The verb erethisdo, to excite or stimulate or arouse, the word goes back to Homer, but in earlier Greek it generally had a negative sense of provoke or irritate, but that's not the meaning here. The word's been softened in the sense of just to excite. So just to do that bit again quickly, for I know of your zeal, in respect of which I boast on your behalf to the Macedonians, that Achaia has made preparations even from a year ago, and also understand I know of your zeal, or that your zeal has excited the majority, or perhaps just the many. Epimsa de tus adelphus hiname to kalkema hemon to huper humon kenothe ente mere tuto. Hina kathos elegen paraskuas menoi ate. I might just pause there, but I sent the brothers, the brethren, in order that our boast, the one about you, on your behalf, so that our boast about you might not be made empty. This is an aorist passive subjunctive here from kenoo, kenos meaning empty, so it might not be made empty, often translated be made in vain. Ento mero tuto, well, in this portion, so in this matter, I think it's generally, or in this case, and I think the reference here is again to this giving of the gift. So I did all that. Hina, in order that, ate is subjunctive from the verb to be, and it's second person, so plural. So that, and it's a perfect passive periphrastic construction here from periscu asdo, or periscu asdomai here. This is a perfect. So it's subjunctive after hina. So in order that you might be prepared, just as elegon I was saying, in other words, just as I was telling them. Me pos ian elthosin sun emoi macedones, kai huros in humas a paraskuastus, kat iskun thomen hemes. I'm going to go to the next page there. So, lest perhaps, notice that use of pose, it's that indefinite pose with the accent is enclitic, so the accent goes back on the may. So, lest perhaps, if Macedonians might come along with me, and they might find, aorist subjunctive from heurisco, they might find you are paraskuastos, unprepared. The meaning of this is pretty obvious. It's alpha plus paraskuasdo. It's an adjective formed from that. However, the word itself is late and very rare and not found elsewhere in the New Testament, but the meaning's very clear. So they might find you unprepared. So they might find you unprepared. So in order that if the Macedonians might come with me and they might find you unprepared, then this is subjunctive after the after the may, I should say, lest we might be put to shame. Lest we might be put to shame. So lest perhaps, if they come and they find you unprepared, and it's emphatic, we might be put to shame. And then he continues slightly elliptically with this next expression, hiname lego humes. This is a funny expression. It means basically to say nothing of you. So he's put the humes at the last word of the previous clause. So it's in order that I might not speak of you being unprepared, something like that, but it's something like to say nothing of you. In ente hypostase taute. Now, hypostasis, of course, has got a huge range of meanings in later Christian theology, the hypostatic union and so on. There's all these philosophical meanings of it. I think here it just got the sense of to have confidence, or the word for confidence. So literally in this confidence, understand that we have in you. Others render it in just more simply in this undertaking. The word's got a variety of meanings here, so it's either so we might be put to shame, to say nothing of you, perhaps in our confidence we have in you, or perhaps more simply in this undertaking. Again, you'll need to look at the commentaries here for the various options. Anenchaion un hege samen parakalesai tous adelphus, hina pro elthos in es humas, kai pro katisos in tain pro epangel menain, eulogian humon. Tautain hetoimen enai hutos hos eulogian kai me hos pleonexian. Therefore, I thought from hegemai. Obviously, it has that sense of lead, but can also mean to think. So here it's I think. Therefore, I thought it was necessary to encourage the brethren in order that they might go beforehand. That's pro erchomai. They might go to you beforehand, and they might make preparations beforehand in respect of the promised blessing from you, that this be ready, thus in this way, so as a blessing and not as, well, funny word here, some say extortion. The idea is that you're giving it freely and not under duress. But pleonexia has the sense of covetousness or greed. Hard to put this correctly into English. You'll need to have a look at the commentaries here. Just to go back over, this is a tricky little section to go over some of the words here. So he sent the brethren out beforehand in order that they might go ahead to you, to go to you beforehand. This is from pro kata artisto. Artios means to make, to be ready or prepared. Kat artisto, it's a common enough word in the New Testament. It means to get things ready. It can mean to mend or repair. Here it's just to get things ready, and the pro beforehand. So in order that they might get things ready beforehand, get things in order beforehand, and the object of the verb is this. This is from pro and ep angel menein. Was from ep angelamai, to promise beforehand, and this is a passive participle, perfect passive participle here. The promised blessing from you. For this to get this ready, so that this might be ready, thus, or in this way, as a blessing, something which is given nicely, so as a blessing and not as, well, an extortion, it's often translated as, not an act of covetousness. Perhaps you almost say not under compulsion, but that's not really exactly what it means here. Again, that's an odd expression at the end. You'll need to look at the commentaries on this one. Tuto de hosperon phi domenos kai therise kai hosperon ep eulogiais kai therise. Now, tuto de is funny. It's just a little connecting expression. You've got to supply something like consider this, see this. So something like, but consider this. And he's going to have a metaphor here. The one sowing sparingly also will reap, from theristo. It's connected, I think, too with the word theros, meaning the summer. So it's when you did the reaping. Phaidemenos is an adverb formed from the participle from phaidomai, to spare. So it's something like, consider this, the one who sows sparingly also will reap, and the one sowing, ep eulogiais, well, literally for the purpose of blessing, so often translated as generously or something. So the one sowing generously also will reap. It's a nice little metaphor here, and it's nicely constructed. You've got the verbs at each end, and then you've got the repeated. Here we've got phaidomenos, and here we've got the ep eulogiais. It's kind of a chiastic sentence here. It's quite nicely constructed. he may be quoting from somewhere. I'm not sure yes, Proverbs, the note down here says Proverbs 11:24 and 22:9, so he's clearly quoting or paraphrasing something from the book of Proverbs. Hekastos kathos pro aretai te cardia, me ek lupes a ex anankes, hilaron gardotein agapar hothios. This is from pro hieremai, to decide. So each man, according as it has been decided, or according to as he has decided, perhaps in his heart, it's something like perhaps each man acts in according as he has decided in his heart, not from lupe, not from grief, or from necessity. Hilaron gardotein. Now this is a paraphrase, partial quotation from Proverbs 22:8. It's not in bold because Paul has changed some of it a bit. In the original, in the Septuagint, the agapar, it has euloge, blesses. So here it's for God loves a cheerful giver. Hilaron, we get our word hilarious from this, of course. It's got the sense of cheerful. It's only here in the New Testament, but it does occur in the Septuagint commonly enough. So for God loves a cheerful. Dotein, you normally get, I think the word is doter is the usual word for giver. Dotein from dotes, it's a first declension masculine, obviously connected with didomi, it's the root from didomi, to give. So God loves a cheerful giver. Dunate dehothios pasan karin perisiusa es humas, hina en panti pantoti pasin, auta kian ekontes perisue te es pan ergon agathon, kathos gegraptai, escorpisen edoken tois penesin, he dukai sune autu mene es ton iona. So we finished up, for God loves a cheerful giver, but God is able, from that later form from dunamai, this is a contracted verb here, so God is able, perisiusai, to make abundant all grace to you. So perisuo, to abound, and here it has the sense, I think, to cause to abound all grace among you or to you. Hina, in order that, now we get lovely alliteration here, panti pantoti pasin. Greek loves alliteration, and here we've got a nice example of it. In order that in each thing, always, having all artokian, self-sufficiency, you might abound to each good work. So let's do that bit again. So for God is able to cause to abound all grace among you, in order that always, in each situation, having all sufficiency, you might abound, subjunctive after hina, in each good or noble task, ergon. Autarkia is from autos and the archaea root, to suffice, so this is self-sufficiency. It's an abstract noun formed from that verb. Just as it has been written, and now we have a quotation here from Psalm 112:9. Escorpisen, from scorpizdo, to scatter, so he scattered. Edoken tois penesin, dative plural from penes, penetos, third declension noun, the poor. He gave to the poor men, his righteousness remains eis tonai ona unto the age, so forever. So just as it has been written, he scattered, he gave to the poor, his righteousness remains forever. And that is the next section, or the first part I should say, of chapter 9.